Hello, everyone. I am done talking about Warzone, so I'm going to focus on something else that's happening in the Call of Duty community. It will be a prime opportunity for me to discuss some things and use it as an example for not just Call of Duty, but other games where competitive elements involved. To do that, I'm going to have to talk about two different things. I'll start with the wrong mentality. This isn't unique to Call of Duty itself, but really any game with a competitive element. The community gets this mindset that you need to have a high KD or win ratio to have any say about a weapon. That is the worst mentality to have. Well, one of the worst, I should say. And here's why. Testing recoil patterns on a wall, ADS time, and that stuff, that's all something you can do in a private lobby. It's very easy to do. The only thing that matters in this particular scenario is if you have an established testing method that produces consistent results. There will usually be margins of error, but as long as the margin of error is within, let's say, three to four of a number, then that's really all you can hope for because, a lot of games have RNG involved. KD or win ratios have nothing to do with testing method. They do, however, have something to do with the influence of a build decision. In this particular scenario, my Google document has been influenced by not just testing, but also by actually taking it into Warzone. So, yes, while I may not have a high KD or win ratio in comparison to pro or whatever people call pros these days, you have to understand that I put a lot of effort into um, this Google document and everything else. This is not something I just did overnight. This is something that I've been constantly changing and testing for months on end. So, yeah, I can say that my tests did line up with exclusive aces and some other testers out there. If it did not line up with that, then I wouldn't have even bothered to make this much effort. Okay, with that said, I need to talk about Swagg now. I don't really like to talk about other streamers or YouTubers in my comments, but unfortunately, um, it's absolutely necessary to get the point across. Please keep in mind that this is nothing negative towards Swagg. It's just my take on things, and that's just that. I have no ill will or other things against Swagg. Okay, so with that said, I think that Swagg is a good player. He's one of the few people that I've seen that's capable of switching in between guns. A lot of quote unquote pros these days will stick with one gun for the entirety of their career unless some nerf stops it. So, I can give him props for that. But what I can't agree with, and has been an issue of mine, at least with his content, is how he presents things. He's always posting videos like, this is the best gun or this is the best loadout, and it's so misleading. Um, the other thing too that kind of bothers me is that it's very hard to reach Swagg. I get that it's going to be a thing with larger streamers, but it's kind of like you can find some way to correct that. If you don't have time to talk to somebody, then at least give more of a reason for um, your gun decisions rather than just throwing a clip up there. So, like for example, I consider the AMR and Dragunov to be, the better snipers because most people aren't going to be able to aim for the head in Warzone. The Dragunov and AMR can destroy somebody's torso a lot quicker than the HDRX 50. There you go. That's all you have to do in your recordings. Sitting there and being clickbait is not the way to go. By doing it the way Swagg does it, he is essentially continuing the meta bandwagon. It's frustrating for community testers like me who can prove that there are better weapons out there and better ways of doing things, and, for us to be completely overridden because people are following the bandwagon. But that's all I have to say on Swagg, is that he's very clickbaity, and I would appreciate some sort of different approach with his content. Now, that gets me into the part I was trying to discuss, and that is Faze. So, as I just mentioned, Swagg is pretty clickbaity, so I don't know if his recent video is true or not. It's very hard for me to tell with the way he's always handled his content. However, I have noticed comments coming from other places that Faze does force their content creators or members of the team to do content. I can't verify this because I'm not part of Faze management or anything of that nature. So all I can do is take what is said and discuss it. Please take everything with a grain of salt. Okay, if this is true, then this is my message to Faze. That is the worst way to handle that. Every player is going to be different, and that's what makes competitive unique in certain games. Obviously, Call of Duty is nothing unique because everybody follows the exact same bandwagon, but there are other competitive games where you do actually see more than one meta. And that's when things get unique. So it's very wrong to force a person to do something they're not used to. I mean, sure, it may be good for practice, but it's not going to be good content. The person's going to be frustrated. There's going to be a whole bunch of factors involved. Not only that, to make it worse, it would appear that they're forcing them to do content with meta guns. If you really want to see good content, or at least do something different, then please take one of the guns that's not a meta. Prove that there can be more than one meta. That is the healthiest approach to the community. By forcing this onto your team members or content creators, you are not only making the meta worse, but you're also putting them in an awkward position. So that's my message to Faze. Now, specifically towards the weapons involved, I did see that there was 2 weapons that were forced upon content creators. One's Swagg and one I won't mention because they came to me in private. Swagg said the SPR, I'm used to calling the R700, and the one that I saw elsewhere that in my DMs, that one was the let me think, it was the Kilo. No, wait, it wasn't the Kilo. It was Grau, I think. No, M13. Yeah, it was M13. Yeah, so it was the M13. This is going to be my message to not just Faze, but everyone else as well. You have to understand that with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the weapons are divided into categories for reasons. It's because they have a general rule of thumb attached, right? So marksmen are going to have less range than snipers. Then you have to factor in that all the patches and other things that have happened since then. I would have to verify this, but I have not seen a change to that one patch that made it so semi-auto marksmen and snipers had their damage dropouts removed. That means something like the Dragunov, which is already a 2-shot to the upper torso, even with 3 armor plates, is able to do that at any range because there's no damage drop-off. So, yeah, there's definitely far better than the SPR in terms of snipers. As for the M13, my biggest complaint with the Kilo and Grau, as well as the M13, is it's a stupid bandwagon. Yes, I understand it has virtually no recoil, but that's no excuse. The time to kill is very slow, and there is certainly better weapons than that. Take the AK, for example. I proved it in my slides that the AK recoil with Romanian barrel is nearly identical to a Grau with Archangel. If people don't want to run the AK, there's the PKM. The PKM has very little recoil. It's very easy to control, and it will do a far better job than the Kilo, Grau, or M13. S87 is another example. S87 actually is good not just because of the range, but also because it's very forgiving. Unlike the Dragunov, AK, and PKM, its damage multiplier is the entire torso. So, it's going to do a lot of damage, even if you aren't good at aiming. So, yeah, the whole Call of Duty community frustrates me, and I imagine that it's only going to get worse with Cold War. We'll see where things go, but that's my message to the community as well as Faze. Before I end this recording, I do want to make this very clear. I have no ill will against anybody. I'm frustrated, sure, but I understand that people have their preferences and things of that nature. I also recognize that there's always room for improvement. What will define these people that are involved is whether or not they choose to improve and do better the next time. Thanks for listening.